high noon, but doesn't really matter. I'm joined here by the Iceman, Jesse Shule, live from the land of smiles in Thailand. I don't
I
know
can
how
tell
you.
you it's well past high noon here,
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah, yeah, yes. I know. I don't know how you do it all the time. To be honest, getting up, doing all these shows in the middle of the night for you. You're a better man than I am. That's for sure.
Well, on the bright side, you get to live in Thailand. You get Thai prices on real estate, on food and lodging, and services and transportation. So certainly, I think the benefits outweigh any kind of negatives, and I'm willing to stay up a few extra hours at night for that.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, I kind of mentioned it before the show. We'll get right into it. Yeah, I just noticed over in England, I'm sure people have heard or seen the video. I know not many people are talking about the player that got his throat slashed and died on the ice. I just saw it come across that they arrested and charged the guy with manslaughter. Uh, first, what's your thoughts on it? And did you actually see that? Did you actually see the video?
I did. I did see the video, and I got to say, Dan, I've been watching hockey my whole life, and as you can see, I'm getting up there. Still in pretty good shape for an old man, but I'm getting up there. And I've never seen anything like that, Dan. I've never seen skates do not get, skates stay on the ice, and they very rarely get that high. There has been a few, Clint Malarchuk for the Buffalo Sabres. I'm sure you remember that,
Uh,
the goaltender. And normally it's a goaltender that has that issue because goaltenders are on all fours
right.
close to ice level. So their necks get exposed closer to skates. Whereas upright players generally don't have that issue. And at first glance, Dan, I said, hey, that looks a little bit, it looked like he was karate kicking him in the face. He was trying to, it looked like a roundhouse. It looked like he was spun around and he tried to roundhouse a guy in the face is what it looked like. And this is not a normal hockey. You just don't see, you could watch tape on hockey games for 1,000 hours and never see a similar clip to that. And then, I heard some analysts talking about it, and they said this guy led the league in penalty minutes. And I thought, well, that's a clear warning sign. If it's a guy that leads the league in penalty minutes, he's out there. That's his job, is to inflict pain on other players. He's got a reputation for it. I'd have to ask some questions about that. And I mean, honestly, from looking at it, I don't think the guy was trying to kill anybody or even serious, but I think he was trying to kick him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you try to kick somebody and it ends up killing them, that meets the legal definition of manslaughter, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
like if I punch you in the face and you die, well, I'm up shit creek without a paddle, and I think this is one of those situations. And I just found out this morning. I had no idea because I don't watch English hockey, and when the guys are wearing their helmets and visors and everything else, and the clip that I've seen is pretty blurry. But apparently the guy who is now charged with manslaughter is black, and there's a big to-do about that. And I personally don't think that's got anything, neither here nor there, nothing to do with anything. I mean, my opinion was made up before I even was privy to that information. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the investigators will be able to dig a little deeper, see if there was history between these two players. They will see if there was moments in the game prior to that where they were chirping each other. And I mean, if you can see incidents on the ice where these guys were saying, screw you, I'm going to get you, and stuff like that, and then you see that, and then the guy dies. I mean, because I'll tell you what, if I was his defense attorney, I'd be looking to find a clip of another guy doing that move with his skate in a hockey game. I don't think you're going to find it. I just don't think you're going to find it.
Yeah. But I guess one thing I've read, I haven't gone down a rabbit hole for this yet, but from everything I've read or from the guy that died, from his teammates, they've just called it a freak accident. Nobody's come out and said these guys have been going at it. They think the guy did it on purpose, anything like that. So yeah, Usually, you know,
Well, I mean, I think that was my first reaction was you don't want it. You sort of want it to be an accident
right.
because you don't want to think it. And it's not obviously it's not good for the game. It's not good for sports. But uh, when you look at the motion of the leg turning around and a roundhouse kick motion, um, I just like I said, I think you could look at tape for an awful long time. You're never going to see that again in another hockey game. And to say it was an accident, and especially if you've got a history of dirty plays, like if it was rattle off some names, like Marty McSorley or Todd Bertuzzi or who's the guy from the New York Range, Avery. What's his name? Avery.
Stephen Avery.
No, Stephen Avery is the guy from Making a Murderer. Another Avery is the hockey player that played for the Rangers and a few other teams.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. I thought it was Steve, but I just read his name earlier because he's saying he thought it was intentional. He thought he did it on purpose. So
I mean, it really looks like it looks like he intended to kick him on purpose, right?
Right.
And that doesn't mean he wanted to kill him.
Right. Right.
But unfortunately, when you want to kick a guy or punch a guy and he dies, you're in big trouble. And like I say, I fully expect this guy to be charged and convicted of or plead. He's probably going to have to plead. I think what would be fair actually is if he was to get, if he had to plead guilty to some really minor manslaughter charge and get like no jail, like almost no jail time, kind of like maybe his hockey career is over kind of thing. And I mean, because like I said, I don't think the guy did it on purpose. I think there was a lot of it was accidental. But at the end of the day, I think he has a certain responsibility for swinging his leg around with a skate attached to it. And, I guess if this guy was my brother or my family member, maybe I would not want such a lenient punishment. But I think he's guilty of something anyways, in my mind.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think so too. We'll see what happens. It's probably going to be a lot different over in England than over here. So we'll see what happens. Kind of not as bad a tone, but I'm looking at the NFL, and I think with Burrow, I don't know if he's out for a couple of weeks, they could fall in this category. But teams that you thought were like shoo-ins to make the playoffs, and now I don't think they are. And one of those teams is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they got a really tough schedule coming down the stretch. Allen's not playing well. New offensive coordinator. Do you think they can turn it around?
I kind of like the Bills this week because they're playing the Jets, but I think there's some problems there that probably aren't going to fix themselves overnight.
Yeah, I think they play they got Miami. I think Kansas City. They got a couple more tough teams down the road. What about the? I guess it all depends. It's going to depend on Burrow. But if Burrow can't play, then would you pretty much count them out?
I mean, I'd count them out anyways because Burrow's going to miss time. He's going to, he was just getting back to being Joe Burrow again. They're 5-5 now. I think they're done. I think stick a fork in them. The Bengals are done. As far as the Bills go, I think it's really disturbing seeing Stephon Diggs' younger brother saying, "Get my brother out of there," kind of thing. I don't like that kind of talk from athletes in today's new culture.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that just seems to be the thing, And you watch like Stephen A. Stephen A. is always big on that. He wants everybody on a bad team to leave and go to a good team. He thinks everybody deserves a chance to win. I mean, when does it stop?
I think player empowerment has gotten a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
It's this pendulum swung too far the other way, and I think as a player, you're part of a team, right? It's not all about you. And if you want to sign up for a team, there's got to be a higher power. There's leadership. There's leadership in the player ranks and the head coaching ranks and ownership, and I think players are wielding too much power, especially some of the star players and guys like Kevin Durant, and what they tried to do in Brooklyn with their super team, and what that and their track, when you let the players do this kind of thing, the track record doesn't seem to be so good.
Yeah, I still don't understand why everybody's so enamored that they get Kyrie on their team. I mean, that guy's been a cancer wherever he goes. But
James Harden now for the Clippers, 5 straight losses or 6 straight losses since he arrived.
Well, that was a given. All right, well, one last thing in the NFL while I got you here. What about Belichick? Do you think he's gone at the end of the year? And will he coach again?
It's a good question. I haven't put much thought in it. I don't think he'll coach anywhere else. I don't think he'll go to another team. Part of me thinks he's not going to want to subject himself to this for another year. But does he want to go out like this? I mean, he seems to me to be the kind of guy that doesn't like being wrong, doesn't like losing.
Yeah.
And if this is his last season, he retires after this year, he's taken a serious L. You know what I mean? Like that's a serious black mark scar on his resume that it's not gonna sit well with him. So I think if he thinks he's got anything left in the tank, he's gonna want to sort of answer his critics for what happened this year.
Right, but I personally, I don't think it's going to be in New England. I think it'll be someplace else. I think Kraft is done, or
his relationship with Kraft is soured to the point where it's irreparable.
Pretty much, yeah. There's rumors out there saying that he might have been fired already, but they want to keep him and try to trade him,
sell him for like a first-round pick or a couple first-round picks or something.
Yeah. And or they're gonna have to get a GM, because I think that's been his biggest failing, because he can't draft. He hasn't been able to draft anybody good lately.
Rye says Belichick to the Chargers. The Chargers are probably one of the only franchises I could see that would want to pony up to get him. I think the league has gone the direction of younger guys, the Sean McVays, and I'm not sure what the market is for Belichick as far as giving up a bunch of first-round picks to get him.
Right. Yeah. Especially now. I think the one I hate. I'm gonna hate to see it, but I think one of the top coaches that's gonna get hired is the Lions offensive coordinator, and I'm gonna hate that, because, well, that's what happens when you're successful. All right, moving on. We'll touch on this one. Word came down yesterday that, and I knew this was going to happen, because there's no way they'd want to put Harbaugh on the stand, even after he said, I want to talk. Michigan decides, the 3 games is good enough. We won't go for a TRO. So Harbaugh's done for the next 2 games. They won't need him against Maryland. And to be honest, I never thought they need him against Ohio State. I mean, I'm not sure what he actually does except motivation.
Well, the game script for the second half against Penn State was it wasn't that complex. It was run, hold on, and run a little more. So I'm pretty sure whoever the interim coach is can handle that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised that when this year's over, and if they win the Natty, or if they don't win the Natty, that you're going to find out that the coaches up in the press box had Harbaugh on speakerphone for the whole game. It's just,
sure, why not? Yeah, absolutely.
It's just his nature.
I gotta say though, in the Penn State game, obviously they didn't beat Penn State because they were stealing signs. So I mean, They didn't seem to skip a beat because they were stealing signs.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's just bad anyway. But did you hear his press conference when he went on the 5-minute diatribe about chickens?
I didn't hear about I heard about America's team and
Yeah.
Michigan's America's team.
Right, right. For all the diversity that they have to go through, that they basically cause themselves. But no, but I don't know if you know this, but like for the longest time, he refused to eat chicken because chickens are a nervous bird, and he thought if you ate chickens, then you'd get that nervousness from the chickens. So so then during COVID, obviously he had nothing to do except take illegally take recruits out for lunch. He bought his daughters a bunch of baby chickens. So now,
Okay.
so now he's raising chickens, and he went on like a 5 minute diatribe and talking about chickens. That's the guy that they wanted. That's the guy they had second thoughts about putting on the stand.
Well, sounds like I didn't miss much, but
No.
so clear this up for me. They've come to an agreement. So is that settled this now that the investigation's going to stop and he's not going to suffer any more consequences?
Well,
They've agreed to accept a punishment levied of 3-game suspension.
well, there are agreements with the Big Ten, but
The NCAA still has their own investigation.
the NCAA still has their own investigation. But here's the thing. See, Michigan came out and said, "Oh, yeah, we've come to an agreement. We're going to have we're going to live up to the 3-game suspension, and the investigation's over." But the NCAA released a statement and said, "Well, we didn't negotiate any agreement, so who really knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who really knows?" I think definitely 3-game suspension, but to be honest, I don't think he's going to be there next year anyway. That I can see him in Chicago or Las Vegas. I just think he's done with the whole thing, and I don't think the NCAA is done with him because, yeah, he took that 3-game suspension at the beginning of the year, but the NCAA wanted 4. No, they negotiated 4. The NCAA said that's not good enough, so he said, "Okay, well, we'll just self-impose 3." So that one's not over yet either. That investigation's not over yet. So now he's under 2 investigations. I think he's just gonna say, doesn't really matter. I'll just leave anyway. Especially if they win. If they win the national championship, he's gone.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I don't really like Michigan to beat Georgia or Alabama.
No.
Aside from that, maybe Texas. I don't know. They certainly have a shot, but they're not my favorite team. That's for sure.
No, my feelings on that team are well known. So
I think I will take them against Ohio State, though. I'm not big on Ohio State this year.
No. Yeah, I am not sold on their quarterback, and I'm not sure if they can stop Michigan's running game. They haven't been able to do it for 2 years. So, all right. As Ray wants to know, who do you think is going to take on the Heisman?
Yeah, I think it's between Bo Nix and Big Phoenix Energy, and I think it'll come down to the Pac-12 championship game, and that's assuming that it's going to be between Washington and Oregon. But I guess I'll go Bo Nix because I think Oregon's going to beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship game.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a different name out there. He probably won't win it, but I think he's got a good shot. I'm going to throw out the LSU's quarterback.
The problem with Daniels is
3 losses, but yeah, and he's not going to have it.
Well, yeah, there's no more marquee games, so
right.
Where's he going to? I guess they play Georgia State this week, so I mean he could put up some big numbers, but it's not going to matter as much as the Pac-12 championship game and that week he's sitting at home, right? So when he's done, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. are wowing the voters. So that's why
I totally understand what your reasoning, and I think you're right. But I'll just throw that one out there as a sleeper that could, you know what they always say, East Coast bias. Southern bias
certainly does exist, but the Pac-12, man, what a renaissance year for the Pac-12 in the final year of true Pac-12 football. They've been the whipping boys of college football for almost my entire lifetime, or at least the last 15 years. And you look around at the Pac-12 now, you got 3, 4, 5 teams that are, pretty serious contenders. Even Oregon State. I mean, Oregon State is favored against an undefeated Washington Huskies team with a Heisman favorite on their roster. So I mean, obviously Oregon State's no pushover, and Utah still one of the best in the business. Utah, even though they coming off that loss to Washington, they're still a team that nobody wants to play.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. It's kind of sad though, that the Pac-12 is going to implode after this season because it has been a great year for them. But what are you going to do?
I know. I mean, you think about the potential for, like, if they were going to have a Pac-12 next year, and you were going to have all these teams coming back to, it would be certainly there's a lot of entertainment value that people would certainly want to see. Like, they were talking about they're not going to get their TV deal, and they couldn't get a TV deal coming into this season. I think they'd have no problem getting a TV deal for next year.
Right. All right. This question, I don't know. I'm thinking about this because, when you're younger, you always got, you got your favorite team and you follow your favorite team, and I think probably my only favorite team from my youth that I still have is the Lions, and that's been a struggle for the last, I don't know, 25 years to still follow that. But the Tigers are crap. Any other Detroit team's crap. So I think it started with Jordan at Carolina. It started, when Jordan went to the Bulls, I became a Bulls fan. I think if he went to the Blazers, I would have been a Blazers fan. I don't think it would have mattered where he went. That's who I would have been a fan of. But like over time, getting older, I seem to be more rooting for players than teams. Do you find yourself doing that, or are you still like a Vancouver, Seattle guy, if you ever were?
No, I mean, I think it was different for me growing up in Vancouver Island because we have the Vancouver Canucks, so everybody's a Canucks fan, sort of. But growing up, I was not your typical kid that cheers for the local team. I was when I was a kid, starting at like age 6, 7, 8. I would watch every single hockey game that was televised. Didn't matter the team. Knew every player. Knew where they were, what they liked for dinner. Everything. Right or left-handed. I collected all the cards and read all their stats, and what I watched and listened. If there wasn't anything on TV about hockey, I would be listening to the radio. So I was in tune with all these teams, and I was able to be a fan of, like, the Edmonton Oilers or the Montreal Canadiens or the Philadelphia Flyers. And every year I would watch the Stanley Cup Finals right until they lifted the cup. And Vancouver, for the most part, wasn't involved in that, so you had to cheer for somebody else. So, and that was my approach to most sports. Is I had a very broad ability to embrace any team that I wanted to jump on, because I like the players, because I like their coach, I like the way they play. So I've tried, right from an early age, I've tried not to be a biased fan. I must admit, I have been a Canucks fan since I was a kid, just because they are the local team. But aside from that, I mean, a little bit with the Seahawks because they're the NFL team that people from my neck of the woods cheer for. But yeah, I've been a fan of the Buffalo Bills because of Doug Flutie, because he played in the CFL. A lot of CFL quarterbacks go to the NFL, and I root for them when they get there. Various reasons, yeah. So I certainly don't limit myself to teams. I cheer for players, for coaches, or even just systems, and a team that entertains, right? Like, I'm actually not a Dolphins fan this year, but I would imagine that some people are a fan of the Dolphins just because of the way they play offense.
Yeah, the way they play, and their coach is pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So did a young Jesse Shule play hockey?
Street hockey.
Oh, no, not you didn't.
No, a young Jesse Shule couldn't skate, and the ponds where I'm from didn't freeze over, so that held me back. Parents probably couldn't have. Hockey's an expensive sport.
Right.
I don't know. Most of the kids that play hockey, their parents are doctors and lawyers and professionals. And I grew up on the rough side of town, so to speak. And me and my friends, hockey wasn't an option for us. It was more hustling.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. My nephew played like hockey. I think a little travel hockey here locally, and yeah, very expensive. And let alone, and then to add on, if you wanted, he didn't play, but just thinking, goalies are even more expensive. So yeah, I couldn't skate either, and so. Yeah, right. We know you're a biased Philadelphia sports fan. Yes, I know that very well. But
I mean, I've been betting on sports since I was a teenager as well, and you learn
right,
pretty quickly that it doesn't work being a fanboy, right? You got to expand your horizons and think outside the box and stray away from just following your home team if you want to have any success betting on sports. So,
right.
I know Rye bets on sports as well, but I don't know if he's been doing it since he was a teenager, like myself. And so it was something that I picked up early. That you can't just be following the Canucks and the Seahawks your whole life. You gotta get out there and dig in and know just as much about the Arizona Cardinals and Jake Plummer and the Denver Broncos and Brian Greasy and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm just laughing because we always seem to come on here and date ourselves with these references.
I think it's dropping nuggets of knowledge. Like when the kids are like, "Who's that?" Yeah, well, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they were a Buffalo Bills fan because of Doug Flutie.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Jess. All right, you got any?
One more thing about the Buffalo Bills fan and Doug Flutie. I was a Buffalo Bills fan because of Doug Flutie. And in the Music City Miracle, the Buffalo Bills benched Flutie, started Rob Johnson. So I bet against them. I took the Titans because I was pissed off at the Bills. And that was the Music City Miracle. Wycheck to Dyson on the the kickoff return for a touchdown to end the game. And was watching that at Ben Burns' house across the street from Vic High School, the local high school in Victoria.
See, sometimes.
Actually, where I was at was Ben Burns' apartment, which was across the street from this high school. But the high school that I'm talking about is the high school that was filmed in the movie Scream.
Okay. All right. See?
Because the movie Scream was filmed at this high school.
Well, there you go. All right. So do you have for anybody that's paying attention, do you got a game you like this weekend that you can give out a little nugget for the people to bet?
Yeah, Monday Night Football. I think we talked about that a little bit last night, and that was my favorite play for the show last night was or yesterday for people stateside was the Chiefs' first half. You got Andy Reid. What is it? 27-4 straight up coming out of a bye week. You got like I said, the Chiefs' offense. Granted, they've struggled. But there's no better cure for a struggling offense than 2 weeks off to add some wrinkles. And I like the Chiefs to get off to a good start with their scripted plays early on. Whatever Reed's going to come up with, we're going to see it early. So I think first half money line for the Chiefs on Monday Night Football against Rise Eagles.
All right. The Iceman says it, so that's how it shall be done.
Well, let's hope. Yeah, about 55% of the time. How about that, Dan?
Hey, more winners than losers. That's all we can ask for. All right, Jesse. I know it's however early, late for you over there. I know you got other things to do. You got another show coming up. What show is that again, and what time, and where can people catch it?
Yeah, I do the Winner's Circle Friday live show at 3 Eastern with Sean Higgs and Ross Benjamin. I do 3 shows a week on the Winner's Circle podcast with Sean and Ross. we get big crowds in there. It's a popular show. It's a lot of fun working with Sean and Ross. It's a lot of fun working with you and Rye and Joey as well. But they get a ton of views over there, and it's definitely it's entertaining. Sean keeps things pretty entertaining.
Yeah. It's been a while since I did a show with Sean, and we did the show yesterday, and that was fun. And yeah, I used to do a lot of stuff with him before at Picks and Parlays, so it's always good. It's always good to have Sean on. He's always good for something. So all right, yeah, I'll let you go. Hopefully we can do this again next week or whenever. And appreciate your time and your knowledge and the little tidbits of information you throw out there, like Scream and where Scream was filmed. And
Thank you, and good luck unless you're against us.
there you go.